Podcasting from Portland East to Portland West, from Big Pine Key to Pacific Beach, and from San Juan to Guam, this is All Across America. All right, we're here with Stefan Bruno. We're at Stefan's place. It's an honor to be here on the Upper East Side. Stefan is a doorman on a building in Park Avenue, and he's also the author of Building Material, the Memoir of a Park Avenue Doorman. It's great to have you on the show, and again, it's great to be by your place, and thank you for being so accommodating.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for being here, Mark.
A lot of these jobs are very hard to break into, you know, whether it's longshoreman, doorman, and you've got to know somebody. So tell us how, a little bit of the journey, how you got to where you are.
Sure. So I had heard about the doorman job earlier, a few years before I got the job. My younger brother had it. Right, and that was after I had gotten kicked out of college, and I'm kind of this wayward dude, just doing whatever in life. Earlier, I was my academic trajectory was super high. I was actually the golden child of the family, doing great, leading by example, getting into gifted programs in school. Yeah. And then after I got kicked out of college, I just didn't really care about anything, and so I'm working at a restaurant in Rockland County, in Nyack. Then I'm working at a restaurant in Minnesota. And whenever I visited home, I'd hear that my brother Jason had the doorman job, and he's working really hard, working crazy hours. Younger than me. I'm the oldest of 7.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So and here I am, kind of just like this guy, never do well, don't really care. By then, who cares about my past as this sterling student?
you went from golden child to do well.
Really didn't. I didn't care at all. And my hair's really long. I'm overweight. I see my brother always dressing well. His hair's always well groomed, smelling great. Yeah. And where's Jason headed? He's going to his job. He works on Park Avenue as a doorman. I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't really care. And so I go back to Minnesota because I have a girlfriend there, and unbeknownst to me, my mother is pleading with Jason to get me the job, to put in a good word, get your big brother a job, Jason. And this I don't really get into this in the book, so you're getting information that most people are not privy to. But he at first did not want to get me the job. He didn't, because he saw me, my past history. And he's like, he's gonna misrepresent me at the job.
Your reputation.
Are you kidding me? This guy, he's been run out of a church. He's been kicked out of school.
That was at Nyack College.
Yes, yeah, okay. Yes. And he's like, I really don't want to get him the job. And also we had, our own personal sibling rivalry growing up, and he's like, no, I got one on Stefan.
Yes,
I got a better job. He's got no job, yeah. And so. After months, again, I don't know that this tug of war is going on in New York City. I'm in Minnesota, getting fatter by the day, listening to angry rap, Tupac every single day, and writing sad-ass poetry. And my mother's like, we need to take him away from eating casseroles every single day,
Yeah.
And, you got Puerto Ricans. At the time, it's still very Latin. It's mostly Puerto Ricans and Albanians now, and it was back then. Basically their own rivalry on Park Avenue for the job, Yeah. And Jason was part of that contingent of Puerto Ricans and Latin guys. So we're half and half. Me and my siblings are half Puerto Rican, half Ecuadorian. So he's part of that contingent that's flooding Park Avenue with Latin guys.
Okay.
And he eventually relents, and he's like, all right, Mom, I'll put in a good word. And my mom calls me up. I'm in Minnesota. And all I think about is, well, I'll do it for the summer. It'll make me a whole bunch of money, and I'll bring that money back, and I'll be here and take care of my Minnesota Viking blood girlfriend.
Right.
And by the end of the year, I'm like, you know what? I got to get back to school. I'm smarter. I'm better than, not that I'm better than the people in Minnesota, better than Minnesota. I was better than the situation.
Yeah.
And sorry about the sirens right now.
It's all right.
Very
it's authentic. Right?
It's authentic as hell, right?
I'll press the button later for the more sirens to come on. Anybody listening?
Actually, when I tried out for the audio book, because I had to try out to narrate my book. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
That's surprising.
So they asked me to read the prologue and read the first chapter. And while I was recording, similar situation, the sirens came out. And I'm like halfway through reading the prologue, and I'm like, Actually, that sounds very authentic.
There you
Because
go.
growing up in the Bronx, a lot of sirens. But yeah, so going back, my mother was the one that got my brother Jason, who was already a doorman. Sorry about the mosquito there. To put in the good word, and I don't know how good it was, but he got his boss at the time to say, "Okay, sure, I'll talk to him."
Something
And
worked.
by the time I came in, Jason was on his way out to another building.
Okay.
He decided to work on another building. So then I worked for the summer, went back to Minnesota, and got a whole bunch of phone calls from I forgot the name I gave him in the book.
The super by the time.
The super at the first building.
Yeah.
Right, and that's something I gotta get better as remembering the names I assign people.
Right,
I had
because
to- I had
you
to change
the
all
names
these-
to
yes,
protect the innocent.
yes.
I did notice, like, usually I'm like, all right, he must have changed the name, but I'm looking in the front of the book and it doesn't say that. Normally, maybe
it doesn't. It's supposed to say that.
I don't know. I mean, what do I know about book publishing? You know, I'm not.
I mean, listen, it's my first book. I'm learning
Yeah.
as I go.
Yeah,
too.
right,
You know, I'm
right.
learning as I go. So you know, you might know more than me. I've had a couple of conversations where they're more they're better versed in publishing. I write. That's
right. Yeah.
my
I
job.
mean,
that's what I'm good at.
It's a
you know?
different, writing and publishing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
all.
I'm learning as I go myself. But yeah. So I worked the summer, and then I went back for the fall in Minnesota. The Yankees lost 4 straight in the World Series, and I'm like, this is a battle. I gotta get the hell out of here and go grieve with my fellow New Yorkers. You know?
Well,
And
kind of like this year, actually.
that was
I'm a Mets fan, so.
Oh, man, but you guys look-
They fared better than the Yankees
yeah,
this year.
no, you guys look
They
good.
did,
Like
they
you're on
did.
an upswing right now.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
the Dodgers are on another level. They're on another
Yeah,
level.
yeah. Well, I saw an interview by yesterday by one of their pitchers who was on the Red Sox. Can't stand this guy. He didn't play one game in the World Series. He's talking all this shit about the Yankees. It wasn't even close. They weren't even a good match. You know, this and that. If you could rank teams, the Yankees would have been 8th or 9th.
Well, they made it as
Joe
far as they
something.
did.
I can't stand this guy. He's with
They
the Red
made it
Sox.
as far as
He
they
used to
did.
be with the Red Sox, so he brought that energy. But the Yankees made it to the World Series.
They
It
did.
was good to see them in the World Series, but I wish they had done better.
Yeah. And so what year was it that they got swept?
They didn't get swept. What happened was they went up 3-0 against the Red Sox.
And then they lost.
Yeah,
the
and
four
those
in a
3
row.
games, those weren't even close.
that's right.
And I
Okay.
don't know what happened. The 4th game, I think it was David Ortiz hit a home run. In the 9th against Mel Rivera, and then you just felt it. I just knew this meant something. It was magical. It was magical. He hit that home run off of Mariano Rivera in the 9th inning, and I just felt that. I was in Minnesota, and everyone's rejoicing because we had crushed the Twins on the way to the ALCS. But yeah, that was disastrous, and I remember being out there by myself, grieving by myself. I mean, it was tough. You know, you're a New Yorker in a no man's land, and somewhere a new land. You don't know everybody.
And Minnesota's cold. I like Minnesota, but it's cold
Yeah.
in wintertime.
Yeah, it is. It is,
yeah.
and they're good people. Just
Minnesota nice, as they say.
yes, chilling to the bone,
Yeah.
You know, so it was a different culture, a different vibe. A New Yorker, I just didn't feel like I ever really belonged out there, and
Right.
I wanted to be around my people.
Yeah.
You know, so that, and also wanting to get back in school, and I missed my mom, I missed my sisters.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I wanted to get back. So when I started receiving all these phone calls from my former boss at the first building, that final call, the third call, I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'll take the job. You know, Gilbert. I think I didn't change his name. Gilbert, the guy, the fellow with the knives.
He must have liked you. I mean, 3 calls. That's,
Yeah. No, I fell into. I mean, he was a good man. He was a
Yeah.
good man. I liked him.
Yeah.
I don't say anything bad about him. He's
Yeah.
a great boss, and he was he had that fatherly. He gave me fatherly attention.
Yeah.
That I didn't know how to receive from a boss. You know, I think it even sometimes caught him off guard how he treated me like a son.
Yeah.
You know, because these relationships are supposed to be kind of like professional and cold in a way, you know, and you're not supposed to cross that line because it's an employee, and at any moment if a resident says, I want you to axe Stefan, he's got to do it.
Wow.
You know, but he couldn't help viewing me like a son. I'm this happy-go-lucky guy from scrappy dude from Minnesota. Don't really give a damn. And I was a good worker, but I was also kind of just really casual.
Right.
Didn't take anything seriously, including myself. I still don't really, I don't.
I mean, it's a better way to be sometimes, and I'm
you
finding,
could take a
as
joke.
I get older, it's like, sometimes you get so worked up over the silly stuff, and then I
Yeah.
look back and I'm like, it ain't worth it. You get worked up in the moment, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I
if
keep
you
trying
can
to tell
laugh at
myself
yourself,
that.
yeah, exactly. If you can laugh at yourself first, then you're gonna laugh. You're gonna be able to laugh at a lot of things,
Yeah.
including the bad things that happen. There's a lot of bad things that are gonna happen. A lot of bad things happen,
I mean,
to
work
me.
is work. Yeah.
So, but I sensed. I don't know. By the third call, I'm like, this means something. Like, how
Yeah.
many chances, opportunities
That's
do you
right.
get in
That's
life
right.
where someone's begging you to take a good paying job?
Right.
With benefits, with a 401k, with a pension,
Yeah.
and you're a young guy, unmarried, no kids. I'd had this epiphany, even in my incredibly immature time in my life, which was back then. I had debilitating immaturity, excuse me. But I had this epiphany, this opening, and I just knew I had to seize on the opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's how I came into the job.
And how old were you at the time where you got that first full-time gig?
22.
22. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 22, and buildings don't use they will hire you young for the summer, and then you're gone.
Wow.
And really, what you're doing is working. You're a grunt laborer. You're lifting this, you're doing that, all the side work that buildings want, like the heavy stuff, like cleaning out the gutters or something like that. They save it for the summer guys. Because that's serious manual labor.
Yeah, I wish I could say that. Who do you think is cleaning the gutters in my
Yeah,
house?
that's you. Yeah, well, if you,
My wife holds the ladder, so God bless her. Thank you.
well, you could,
But that's what I signed up for. But yes,
Right.
yeah, it's one of my least favorite things.
yeah. No, you could hire a few summer guys, young summer guys.
Yeah, let me know if you know any doormen. And so the summer guys, they're just doing like maintenance stuff, and they're pitching in because folks are on vacation and.
Yes. Yeah. They're there even themselves. They're not expecting much too. They're some of them are in college. We've had summer guys, great summer guys, that they knew that they were, and that was the expectation. Work, make some money that I'm going to take to school.
Yeah.
I might have to pay for tuition. Maybe I got half a loan, or I didn't get enough to pay my whole semester's tuition. Well, even if you don't get 100% of the hourly rate on Park Avenue,
New York money is good money.
it's still good money.
You're
especially
going to
if
college.
you're taking it to a state where things are low, the cost of living is low.
Upstate, I went to SUNY Binghamton. I was a caddy, and so I would come home on weekends, and I was getting paid cash, like $300 on a weekend, and then I'd drive right back up, and people there were getting paid $8 a day.
So what town was that?
This is SUNY Binghamton. Upstate.
Binghamton.
Yes,
My brother went there for college.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, one of my brothers. Yeah.
So, and it was
Cool.
3 hours back and forth, but it made sense. And the same thing, working at Doorman at Park Avenue, you make good money, and then you take that to University of Tennessee, and you're
cost of
living.
living is cheaper.
You're
but you
living
got
a
New
step
York
above.
money.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So I wasn't in college at the time. Again, I had been kicked out, but I was going back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Slightly cheaper. So
Right.
I'm thinking I'm just gonna take this money home. But I ended up coming back.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
staying.
So tell me about like the different jobs. So I mean, there's a doorman, there's a super, there's a porter, there's a handyman.
That-
Like what are, and then there's a management company. You got the union. So maybe you can kind of walk
Sure.
through it.
So you have doormen and porters. Porters are just basically glorified maintenance men.
Okay.
We call them porter.
Yeah.
In a hotel, I think a porter has a different job.
Gotcha.
But
yeah,
this
more
is
luggage.
yes.
Okay.
This is residential, so we
Right.
call the maintenance guy in the basement a porter.
I see. Okay.
Right. He's also running the elevator, the service elevator, which looks a little more. It doesn't look as fancy as the passenger
Right.
elevator.
It's the utilitarian.
It's a little more rugged.
Yes. Yes.
I don't even. It's ours is wood paneled, but it's not shiny.
Right.
Like
You got to
one of
get
the
the
pas-
washing machine up. They
Right.
go to the
Yes,
service. Right.
Yes. We have a full-time, like Mike in the morning is a full-time service elevator guy. We call him a porter. So he is Tuesday through Saturday, all porter shifts.
Right.
One of the senior guys. Then you have morning guy who's all doorman. That's Manny. I'm working with him on Sunday. I have 2 doorman shifts, so it's Manny's 2 days off and 3 elevator shifts. I'm always in the lobby though. So you got guys that are always in the lobby, whether
Right.
it's all doorman or a mixture of doorman elevator shifts.
Okay.
I'm one of those guys. There are 4 of those. Then you have a bunch of porters. Then you have swing shift guys, which come in the middle of the day
Okay.
to relieve guys for their break.
Oh.
Right? So there's 2 guys that come into the building when they start at lunchtime to relieve me and the other morning guy, let us go on break. And that's how his day begins. So he's up in the lobby for an hour.
Okay.
Then after that, he goes around the building and does side work, cleans this, does garbage, does this and that, brings up housekeepers, construction guys. And then in the evening, he's still there. Since he's in the middle of the day, he relieves the evening guys for lunch.
Okay.
I can't stand that shift because you can't really plan your day. You can't make plans with anyone.
Right.
You're waking up in the morning, you're hanging out at home for a couple of hours, and you got to go to work. Then when you get out at 8 or 9, who wants to hang out with you at 8 or 9?
Right. Okay. So it's kind of sandwiched right in the middle of the day.
Right.
Okay.
So we got, those are 2 guys. Then you got your overnight guy. He works by himself.
Okay.
The pros and cons of that shift is that it's usually really quiet at our building. It's dead quiet. I wrote most of the book during the overnight shift.
Right. Okay.
You know? And but you're up, and your body's circadian rhythm is not set up for that.
Good.
You know,
No,
you
it's not
age.
healthy. They do. They say it's so unhealthy.
Yeah. And I felt myself aging during the 3 years that I wrote the book.
Yeah.
But that guy, he works by himself. Again, it's quiet. You could shut your eyes. If you sit down, dim the lights, you can close your eyes.
Sure.
You know, in our building, they let you do that. I might get in trouble for saying that.
Well, nobody cares at 3 o'clock in the morning what you're doing.
Right.
So.
But I know people who work at buildings where you can't close your eyes.
Wow.
The super will check the camera and make sure you were up all night, and I think that's terrible.
I mean, how can you be a human being at that point? It's like, I could not
you're
work sitting.
Like
you know,
that.
I mean,
Yes.
otherwise I would be pacing up and down the floor, and that's not healthy either. And
you said something crucial just now. You said you're sitting. Some buildings will not let you sit.
Wow. Okay.
I know another guy who works at a building during the day. He's the doorman. If you got bad knees, you're screwed. You have to stand up the entire time. You can't even lean up against the wall.
Wow. That's tough.
Yeah, I have 2 surgically reconstructed knees. I couldn't work at a building like that.
Wow.
At my building, they graciously allow us to sit down. I can sit down. If no one comes up to the door for 8 hours, I can sit down for 8 hours.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm very lucky to work in a building like that because
Right.
I know other guys who are screwed.
Wow. Okay.
You know?
So I mean, it's not the same. I mean, you've got the uniform, which is, but every building has their own different.
Yeah. It's kind of like franchises in sports. Like you could play for the Yankees, you have to shave.
Yeah, you have to shave.
Neither one of us could work
yeah.
and could play for the Yankees.
Yeah. I
Okay?
know.
So some buildings will let you take off your jacket during the hottest summer days.
Right.
Ours won't let us take off our jacket.
Oh.
I remember.
Okay.
So they're gracious in one way, and another way they're like, nope.
I'd rather sit and keep my jacket on if I had the choice between the two.
Between the two, I'll take same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember one summer the AC went down for a week, and it was like the hottest week of the summer.
It's always that way.
And I run hot already.
Yeah.
So my shirt is slopping wet under my jacket.
Yeah.
And I tell my boss, I'm like, listen, man, this is brutal.
I mean,
what
when
are
the
we doing
AC
here?
goes down, come on, that's when you have to make.
I took it off for a couple of hours, and then I got he came over. He's like, look, man, we need you to keep your jacket on. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was the worst shift ever, the worst week ever.
Yeah, that's not fun. Yeah.
But yeah. All things considered, I'd rather sit down.
100%.
You know, and have my jacket on. So.
And so your boss is a super.
My current boss, right? So when I say my boss, it's funny. I say super. He's the super. Yes, the resident manager of the building.
Right.
But even he will tell you, we feel like we have 50 bosses or 60 bosses because he answers also to the management company.
Right.
And then the management company answers essentially to every resident in the building. So if a resident in the building calls up with a complaint to the to the management company, they're calling up the super at the building, and things got to start moving. And he's sending me a text or calling me.
So they don't talk to the super first. They talk to the management company who calls the super who calls you.
Okay. So some residents, it's a mix. Some residents go straight to the management companies. Some
Right.
residents have a relationship with the super,
I see. Okay.
and they don't want to deal with the management company because it's
Yeah.
very impersonal. Because you don't actually see the management company.
Right.
That's a phone call.
Right.
But with the super, you can actually call them up to your apartment and say, "Hey, I want to speak to you." The super who lives in the building, works in
Right.
the building, goes upstairs to
Yeah.
your apartment, and you can have a sit down with them. And a
Yeah.
lot of residents would rather do that.
Yeah, fair enough.
If I was a
Yeah.
resident in a luxury building, I'd rather have the super upstairs.
Me too. Yeah.
You know, I don't want to talk to the management company, you know, because at that point it's like you're calling up T-Mobile or something like that, and you don't even know who you're talking to.
Right.
You know.
I mean, did residents have a lot of complaints? Is that like an often thing? Do you live in fear sometimes of certain tenants that are just complainers, or
No, but I think I work at a great building.
yeah.
You know, so we have a couple of, I wouldn't call it fear. We have a couple of heavy hitters in the building, who all you gotta do is just button up when you're around them.
Right. Yeah.
Just don't, you start off with an A. Don't get yourself to a D.
Yeah.
20 seconds that they're walking by you.
Right. That's it. That's
You
true.
know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
make sure you're wearing socks and your jacket is buttoned,
Right.
and you're standing at attention or something like that. And saying hello and goodbye. You don't say hello or goodbye, they notice that, and that's a phone call. Don't be a moron.
Yeah.
And it's a quick and easy thing for me to say, but you have a couple of morons.
Yeah.
on
I
the
mean
staff.
that's it. And
You know?
they get they
There's always one or two
yeah,
guys
yeah.
that ruin it for everybody.
Right.
So I remember a couple of months ago, this one guy, he's the absolute worst doorman I've ever seen. I've been in the business now 20 years. This guy walks around sometimes, and he's older. He's like 60 plus. And it's embarrassing. I'm 42, and I have to tell a 60-year-old to button up his jacket.
Right.
Or go get that call in the elevator. I'm at the door, and I can see your elevator has a call on it.
Right.
And he'll miss 2 or 3 calls in one shift. And I get mixed up.
Then it reflects on you.
It reflects on me.
Yeah.
I'm also a senior guy. He's not a senior guy.
Right.
He's all the way at the bottom of the seniority ladder at the building, and they're calling downstairs and they're yelling at me like, "What the hell's going on with the elevator right now?"
I mean, my guess is what you had mentioned in the book. I mean, people have these jobs that have for a very long time. So if you're leaving at a certain age, probably something happened.
So with these old guys, what's happened at my building is that we've hired old guys at the end of their working life.
Yeah.
So they're coming in their early 60s, and they know that they're working a couple of years and they're retiring, so they don't give a shit.
They're just putting in their time.
Yes.
And
And they're like, "Oh, here's a couple of extra paychecks to kind of pad my pension from the last job."
Right. Okay.
And maybe pay for something around the house, this and that.
Yeah.
Get a extra little pad my 401k, something like that.
Right.
But they don't have much invested in the building. They know they're going to be there a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this guy especially, I mean, he's the odd man on the staff. I'm a writer. I went to school for it. I want to eventually be a professor, but I respect the job.
Yeah.
I honor it. I feel lucky and blessed. It turned my life around.
Yeah.
So I feel a sense of duty and gratitude. It's given me. It's been it was a life-altering decision to take the job.
Yeah.
So now I landed at this building after the first one, and is breath of fresh air for 16 years.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I try my best?
Yeah.
Or do my best, and it's such an easy job too.
Yeah.
So it kind of disgusts me to have an older person come in who he's great shape. It's not like he's handicapped. Come in and essentially disrespect this great position that other guys would
kill for, right? Yeah.
It will change.
Yeah.
I see other guys. Again, I'm single, no kids. I see other guys essentially provide for their entire family, and feel lucky because you have benefits not just for yourself but for your entire family.
Right. You have the medical.
Your wife and your kids off of one. Even in the current the economy we have, they're still taking care of the entire family off of this one salary, off of this one paycheck.
Yeah.
One of my coworkers, Anthony, he takes care of his entire family. He has his wife takes care of the kids at home. She's a housewife.
Wow.
And he works the 40 hours. Sometimes he works overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So he does it. He has a car, a mortgage. He does it all, takes care of all of it off of what we get paid for at the job.
Right.
So it's a great job. It's a great job. So I see this guy. I see this guy being kind of a moron at the job. It ticks me off.
Yeah.
You know.
Is the hard part maybe that you have residents who obviously have more money? Is it a headspace for certain guys that they can never get over that?
I'm sorry.
Just in fact that you have people and the tenants in the building are very wealthy. You're in some respects maybe they treat you like a servant in some ways.
No. I that's. Are you asking that in relation to what I said about my coworker?
Yes.
No, I don't feel like I'm serving them. I do think that when I started off, I had a problem with them being wealthier, and I talk about that was what the section on the canvas bags was about. That I saw myself throwing canvas bags in their car, and I saw myself kind of doing these mundane, just these tasks that didn't really meaningless tasks every single day, and I'm not doing anything for myself. My life is meaningless.
Yeah.
I go to work doing meaningless work, and it bothered me.
Yeah.
Well, now I have a sense of meaning and purpose, and my identity is relates more to what I'm doing in my art.
Right. Right.
So now I go to work, and it's a job, and I view it as it that doesn't provide me any kind of identity. It doesn't. I'm not a doorman person inside. I consider myself an artist, and sometimes I go to work for 40 hours of the week and I'm a doorman. So that's not why I got ticked off at my coworker. It's just a good job. It's an honorable job, and I think you should honor these positions and opportunities when you get them. And treat them with respect and do your best.
Right.
Because they are life changing. How many the economy the way it is, how many guys they're lined up from here to Connecticut to Pennsylvania. I know guys that are driving down the block. There's one guy that drives from Pennsylvania every single
like
day.
Eastern PA. Yeah, that's great.
And they're driving from Pennsylvania an hour and a half. Because he's got a house out there, he's got his family out there, and that job.
Yeah.
Right, everyone's getting paid because we're all in the same union.
Yep.
That we're getting paid well.
Yeah.
And that one job provides for his entire family and his mortgage in Pennsylvania.
Right. So he's like in East Stroudsburg.
It's not hard to do the job well.
Right.
With very minimal effort, you could do a very good job.
Right.
So. Yeah, I have to work with this guy on Sundays and Mondays, and it really sucks. The 2 worst days of the week, because I'm basically covering for him and babysitting for a 60-year-old. But
and Sundays are busy days too because you have everybody going away, coming back. I'd imagine
you would think, but no. Sundays are really quiet in the morning. They come back in the evening.
Yes, in the evening.
So
That's what I'm thinking. Oh, you do? Okay.
I miss that.
Yes.
They come right after. They come back from their weekend and
they got their pumpkins. Yes. They got their bushels of apples and their LL Bean tote bag.
Yeah. And I miss all of that.
Good for
I
you.
used to see it when I had the evening shifts.
Right.
But that's my first day of the work week. It's Sunday 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Wow, okay.
And I get just the people who stayed home for the weekend. And there are very few of those.
Right. And New Yorkers sleep in too. So.
Yes. Especially after Saturday night, they're sleeping in. And then you see what you get is your resident walking the dog, groggy.
Right.
Kind of waking up.
They don't want to see you. You
feeling
don't
like me.
Them.
I don't want to see them. They don't want to see me.
Yeah.
And there's good morning. I'm like, hey, doors open, go for it.
Yeah.
And but Sunday mornings are really easy. Really easy.
Yeah. Are there tenants you could set your watch to?
Yes. I could set my watch to the one resident who's like my arch nemesis. When I start my shift on 7 a.m, I know she's at somewhere swimming. She wakes up very early to swim. I know she's not in the building. And I know from 7 a.m. to 7:30 she's coming back. So me and my partner have to be on our P's and Q's. She can't see anything amiss. Everything has to be right, or she's calling up the super. She's calling up management, and especially about me.
Yeah.
You know? So, I could set my clock to. Then there's another resident. She always goes downstairs like around 8 a.m. to go to the diner that's a block away for her breakfast. Sweet lady. But she's on a rigid schedule. She comes back like an hour later. Um, then you have your couples with their children, and they're coming down at the same time, 8:30, to drop off their children at the local schools. You have your business people who are getting to the office, leaving our building at 8:15 to get to their office by 9,
Right,
early,
right.
comfortably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love being a part of all of that.
How many units are there?
At the current building, I'd say we'd have to do math. There's 5 per floor, 15 floors, so 60 something.
Yeah. Okay.
But they don't all live there year round. You have residents that it's just their New York home.
I see.
So they're
Okay.
Florida based or
Right.
Ecuador based. We have some residents who are from Ecuador.
Really?
Yeah,
Dude?
bizarrely,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's funny because those residents that don't live there year round usually are our favorite residents.
Really?
Yes.
And too bad they're not
Yeah,
they're not there 12 months out of the year.
Yeah. They come, they're really excited, so you get the enthusiasm.
Right.
And
And I'm
happiness.
sure they're in town at the nicest part of the year too.
Yes, Christmas.
Yes.
You know, they're also the most generous. Like,
Huh.
they come, they're just happy to see you, and they treat you like family. They're Latin people, so
right, okay.
as soon as we become friendly with you, we're treating you like family,
Yeah.
and they're wealthy. So on the way out, you help them with something, just slipping you $20 just for seeing you.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So those are our favorite tenants, and sometimes we talk about how our favorite tenants are rarely there, and then the worst tenants.
That's always
we
how it
see
is.
them
That's
every
life,
single
right?
day,
Yeah,
multiple
that's
times a
right.
day.
Yeah.
You know. So
So you don't live in a Doorman building. I've never lived in a Doorman building.
No, you
I
had
mean,
to walk up the 4
Yeah.
flights. Sorry.
But I mean, I'd almost prefer if I had a zillion. I mean, I guess there's that safety, there's that comfort. Nobody could just walk up and find you. But at the same point, I don't know if I like walking. I don't know if I'd like having to walk by somebody all the time. Do you ever find that there's residents that are like got their blinders on that want to pretend that there's not there, or it's just like awkward, or
No.
that's what they signed up for?
No, I don't find residents that behave that way, but I do see that behavior often in their guests.
Right, because they're not used to it.
Yes, their
Right.
guests often and their family members are not used to that, so they are very awkward.
Right.
And it's kind of insulting actually, because they'll put their head down and behave sheepishly around me.
Right.
And I'm like, look, dude, I'm not suffering here.
Yeah.
I'm not a slave. I'm getting paid
Right.
very well to press this button in the elevator.
Yeah.
So you can look at me. I'm still a person.
Yeah.
I just put myself through school.
Right,
and I
right.
have an MFA.
Yeah.
And I have a book out.
Yeah.
I'm doing well. We can talk. You can look at me in the eyes. You know? And they'll say, no, I got it. I could take myself up in the elevator. I'm like, dude, I'm getting paid
Right.
very well to take you
Right.
up. It's the least I could do here, you know. So the residents, I think they all know
Yeah.
these guys are doing well. So I actually will talk to this guy on the way up. you
Right.
know.
Right.
I'm not doing as well as they are, but I don't need to be. I'm content.
Right,
And very
yes.
happy with what I have. It's a good
Right,
job.
right.
You know. And like Notorious B.I.G. said, more money, more problems.
That's
So
right.
I'm okay with the problems I already have.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, for me, I would be like, oh, I forgot something. I'd be that guy to, back and forth 4 times. I forget it. I'd be like, what's this guy? I mean, and then late at night, obviously there's got to be a huge amount of discretion too. I mean, you ever deal with that and you're like, that's not that guy's wife. I mean, you ever deal with that, or like young people coming home at 4 o'clock in the morning, how do you?
Yeah, I'm used to seeing people, and I think this part is flattering. Okay, I'm gonna go from insulting to flattering. I think residents know that for the most part we're an honorable bunch, especially at my building. If you read my book, it's not actually dishy. A few eccentric residents appear,
Yeah.
and they've either passed away or moved out of the building. I was tactical in that
Smart,
way,
yes,
right?
smart
I can
man.
every resident at my current building knows that they're not going to see themselves in the book,
Yeah.
except for illustrious ones.
Right.
But they know that for the most part, especially at my building, we're an honorable bunch, and we're not going to betray their. We see them every day. So if we go to a newspaper and start talking about a particular resident, we're done, and we should be.
Yeah.
You know, and we have none of us have signed NDAs. That's just who we are.
Right. Okay.
You know, but they know that, and so they do let us see. I've seen a lot.
Wow. Okay.
You know, none of it comes into the book. It's not that's not what the book is about. It's not Doorman Confidential.
Right.
You know, but I've seen a lot, and you know what? I've done a lot myself. You know, so it doesn't change. I don't view that behavior any different because a wealthy person did it.
Right.
You know, I mean,
people are people.
Yeah, I'm putting myself down if I do that.
Yeah.
You know, but they have allowed us to see a lot of their behavior. Now, what I will say is that a lot of the kids, often, they're smart because the younger, like the kids, the residents, the children of the owners, they will do their stuff outside of the building and come home late. Or come home really, really early in the morning where they were up to no good, but we didn't see it.
Right.
So then we can't tell their parents.
Right.
And actually, I get it. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want it because then the resident will ask me, "Do you know where my daughter? What what were they doing in my apartment?" Well, I don't have an answer because they weren't in your apartment.
Right.
They were out all night long.
Somebody else's apartment.
Exactly.
ask that doorman.
yes. You know?
Yeah.
And that doorman wouldn't have anything to say because that's just like, it's Randy's. Randy came in with a girl the other day. Well, that's the girl. That's the resident at my building. I don't know a damn thing.
Yeah.
I'd rather not know.
Yes.
You know? But yeah, I remember a few years ago, many years ago, this gentleman, before he met his current wife, this is when I first started at the building. I'm working 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And he'd have the same blonde come in maybe once a week. It's like 1 a.m, you know.
Oh.
And then she'd leave 2 hours later. Her hair's all messed up. You know? And I'm like, okay, so I understand the arrangement there.
Late night Dungeons and Dragons sessions.
Right. Playing Uno for 2 hours, you know?
Yeah.
There were some aggressive games of Uno because she come back down, her hair is all jacked up, you know? And I'm like, okay, so I get it. You know, he had an itch to scratch. He has an itch to scratch once a week, you know? And she'd help him scratch, you know? So, but that all changed. He met someone, and she's his wife.
Yeah.
Currently. You know? So I'm happy for him.
Good for him. Yeah.
You know, and it really did. After that, we never heard of any strangers, any women coming to play Uno at 2 a.m. You know, she really set him straight. You know, and it's really honest and sincere. I never saw one person come to visit him where she wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm happy for him in that way. You know.
So, you know, you talk about the job, and you got this place like you're a couple blocks away. Do you see like tenants like you know when you're off duty or?
Yes, the one that she can't stand me, she hates me. I actually saw her a week ago.
Yeah. And they recognize you out of uniform.
Yeah. She's glared at me.
What are you doing here?
Yeah. So this is only a couple of blocks. 20 blocks, 40 blocks away from where I work, and I was coming out of the gym, and she works as a tutor.
Oh, okay.
She's a retired English teacher. I can't believe they let her around kids. But we walked right past each other, and she glared at me. And I smiled at her.
Yeah,
you know?
That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
Smile.
Even though I'm on the street, you know, but I know that she's a miserable person, and she hates me because I've done well for myself as a doorman.
Yeah.
You know, my accomplishments far exceed my job, my position at the building.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm a very happy guy at the building.
Yeah.
It's just a job for now. You know?
Yeah.
And she's miserable and that was never married. Has a kid that can't stand her, adopted child. And I would be unhappy. She's older. She's not an attractive person outwardly or inwardly. And I get it. I just wouldn't be I wouldn't be mean to others.
Fair enough. I mean, that's the best way to live your life.
You know,
and,
do
people,
well.
Yeah.
Do well. And your countenance might change. You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
might
Well,
look
that's
better
it.
if you
Yeah.
smile more.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just smiled at her, walked right past
That's
her, and
it.
went home because I'm live. You know, God's been good to me. I've been living a very good life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so.
Yep.
Um,
Long way from Throg's Neck. You were living in Throg's Neck commuting in here.
no,
You said-
yes, but Throgs Neck is actually in the Bronx. You mean?
Yes,
That's
yeah.
a great neighborhood.
It is. I
actually.
used to work there. I used to work at Fort Schuyler.
Yes, that's
so-
a great neighborhood.
But it's not easy to get. You have to take the bus to
No.
the 6.
It doesn't
and
even
it's
have
like
an exit on the highway.
Right. It's
Bus to the 6.
Yes, yeah.
Or you could take that express bus from there into the city.
Right. That's true. Yes.
And you could sleep the whole time.
Right.
But you're spending a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
You know? So, great community in the Bronx. People don't even know
They
about it.
don't know it.
And you talk about the Bronx everywhere else in the country, and they're thinking burning buildings, muggings. And then,
right.
you have your tough neighborhoods.
Right.
Throgs Neck, you got $1 million homes.
You certainly do. Yeah, it's
know?
right on the water.
Right,
You got some big, nice
yes.
homes.
And yeah, but you're right. It is very, very far away from Throgs Neck.
When I used to work at SUNY Maritime, the envelopes, the return address, would say not Bronx, New York, but Throgs Neck, New York.
Yes.
To try to disguise the fact that they were in the Bronx.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like Riverdale in that respect.
Yeah, that's another great neighborhood with $1 million homes.
Riverdale.
That's a great neighborhood.
It reminds me of one of my favorite New York jokes. What's the dirtiest word in Riverdale?
What is it?
The Bronx.
Man, Riverdale's a great neighborhood. I
It
haven't
sure
been there
is.
in a
Yeah,
while, man.
yeah, it sure is. It
But
sure is.
I do miss living in the Bronx. That's a very tight knit community, and
Right.
the cool thing is that it's diverse. You have different ethnicities, but
Yeah.
I felt like once everyone moved in there, everyone felt like a Throgs Necker.
Okay.
People felt like they were part of this community now. That kind of superseded whatever. It was more important than being like Puerto Rican or Dominican or whatever job that they had
Right.
or whatever
Okay.
political.
It became
party.
an identity I live in Throgs
Like,
Neck.
I live
Okay.
in Throgs Neck, so I'm gonna
Wow.
take care of the neighborhood. If I see anything I don't like, I'm calling the cops.
Right.
You know. So that's what I really liked about the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We took care of it. I see that here too.
That's
I
great.
see that here too.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one cares. I don't see anyone asking about political parties. I do see people feel this sense in the neighborhood that we want to keep the neighborhood how it is and safe,
Right.
clean. That's what I like about the Upper East Side. It's very residential. A lot of kids.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
And we take care of the neighborhood.
Yeah. And one thing that's funny about the city is I keep commenting, particularly people who live out of town and are visiting from wherever. And 5 years ago, and tell me if it's the same way on Park Avenue, but I mean, it is up here, downtown, east side, west side, morning, day, noon, night. City used to smell like garbage.
Yeah.
Now it smells like weed everywhere you go.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. Man. I'm not crazy.
It's
about
weird. I mean, at night it is what it is, but like 9 o'clock in the morning, it's like you're smelling weed, and it's like it's not the headspace you want.
Right. When we open the door at the building where we work, you won't see it. You'll smell it because it comes in into the lobby, and it's very difficult to get rid of.
Right.
That smell permeates from the front of the building all the way to the back.
Yeah.
So we have to open up the emergency back door to let that smell out. It is pungent.
And the sidewalk you write in the book is public space, so
Right.
it's very hard. Technically, somebody could just post up and sleep there. You got one character, bam, bam, doing pull-ups on the scaffolding.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's got to be more tactful than anything else.
Yes. Right. You talking about the front door?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We will not open the door unless it's for residents. I like to get air.
Yeah.
You know, right now I got both windows open. Are
Right.
you doing okay? By the way,
Yeah,
with the
I'm
windows
good.
open? I do like to get air, fresh air, not even AC sometimes. you
Yeah.
know?
No, it's better.
But even I feel that sense of we got to keep the door closed to keep everybody out, you know, and to keep the lobby safe and kind of clean, you know,
Right.
and almost pure of what's going on in the city, you know. And I feel that even if I'm by myself working, even during the night, we have to keep the door closed. And we're the kind of building where we have it also locked. Some people sometimes when they're visiting residents, they're shocked that when they tug at the door,
Oh, it's closed.
it's
Okay.
locked.
All right. So you guys are true doormen. You have to open up the door for somebody to get in.
No,
Okay.
we really are opening the door up.
I mean,
You know?
have there ever been situations? I mean, you never hear about crime on Park Avenue, but have there ever been dangerous situations where overnight or wherever where, crisis was averted or maybe not?
At our building?
Yeah.
Well, I remember one delivery guy was adamant about doing the delivery himself, and we at our building we don't let delivery guys up.
Up the elevator.
No, we don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they bring it to the building,
Right.
and they leave it either in the basement or the lobby with us, and we do delivery.
Yeah.
And then we bring down either the receipt and the tip or just the receipt.
Right.
And they're adamant, and I get it because they don't want to be shorted the tip.
Oh,
Because
so they think
they
that-
always think we're stealing.
I see.
And some
Okay.
doormen are stealing. I
Yeah.
read about that in the book. Some doormen are stealing. I remember we had a doorman that was stealing tips in my previous building. I
Yeah.
would never do that.
Yeah,
I've never done
that's
that.
shitty thing
yeah.
to do.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't have it as well as we do.
Right.
Some of these people are not even legal.
Right, of course,
and, they're doing what they can they're actually working.
Right.
They're actually working for whatever they can. They're doing their best. Why would you steal their tips too? On top of that,
Yeah.
So, there was this one delivery guy who blew past the doorman. I was working the elevator. He blew past the doorman and got way into the lobby and was gonna blow past me. And I think he saw from the look in my eye that it was going to lead to his physical harm for him.
Right.
I was not gonna let him get past me.
No. Yeah.
And I was like, "What are you doing? You go talk to the doorman." And that was me letting him know he had to go back to speak to the doorman and stay there. And I was gonna do the delivery, so we avoided him going in my elevator and getting upstairs because we don't know what's gonna happen. So this policy came into place, I think, after 9/11 at our building, where we kept the door locked and we didn't allow delivery people upstairs. But even since 9/11 at another building, it was a building where they let the delivery guys do the deliveries, right? And a tenant, this is recent. This is maybe the last 5 years. The doorman got fired for this. He let the delivery guy go upstairs, and after an hour, he realizes the delivery guy never came back down. What was happening was the delivery guy was raping the tenant.
Oh my God.
And then he finally goes up there, and then he catches the delivery guy. I think this is the way it went down. He catches the delivery guy, or the delivery guy left. It's either the point is that the event occurred, the rape occurred,
Oh my
unfortunately. And then he got, the cops came. They got the delivery guy eventually. I don't know if it was in the act or afterwards. I forget that part.
Right.
But he got fired for just letting him go upstairs and not checking back. I was a little bit, I could see his point of view. It was the building's policy to let delivery guys. I can't control what he does.
Oh, so that building, they allow delivery men to go up?
Yeah.
Oh.
So again, every building has their own set of rules.
Right. So, I mean, he was almost a scapegoat in some sense. I mean, he could have checked. He could have remembered. Yes.
Yeah. See, that's where, as a building, you have to train your guys. We're going to let delivery guys go upstairs, but you have to kind of hold them accountable. You have to call upstairs after a minute. If you don't see the guys coming back down after a couple of minutes, it's your job to send someone upstairs.
Sure.
And he did not do anything.
Right. He just forgot about it.
Yeah. No, so he was fired, but the union got him back.
Wow.
Either at that building or at another building.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Union is super powerful in that way.
That's amazing. And what union is it?
32BJ.
And that is...
it's New York based, but it's all over.
And it's 32BJ is what?
SEIU. 32BJ.
Okay. So that's the Service Employees International Union. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And so in terms of like uniform, and you're talking about different rules, you did say you never lose your job for pushing up against exceptions to the rule with the rule. So it's like if there are rules in place and you're following the rules, even if somebody wants to make an exception, you're not going to get into trouble. And it sounds like in that situation, he was following the building's rules.
Yes.
And that,
Yes. The thing was that there's also common sense.
Yeah.
There's also common sense. And if you know you're sending a delivery man
Right.
to a resident whose gender
Right.
and you don't know the character of the delivery guy. You don't know him from a hole in the wall.
Sure. Yeah.
I would just be, I think most men, good men, have that protective nature quality about them.
Right.
That should overcome your, maybe it was an overnight shift. Like, just check up on the resident.
Yeah.
It was a woman.
Right.
Yeah. It's a couple of minutes. The guy let the delivery guy be up there for a long time.
Yeah, it's not like a UPS driver where these guys are, he's got the job for 20. He's a random pizza guy, right? And he could have had that job for a day. I mean, the same thing with Amazon drivers. I mean, they're doing their job for a couple of months and then they peace out to something better. But it's not like UPS guy is going to be the same dude you're going to see until he retires. Exactly. Whereas some of these delivery, particularly Amazon pizza guy, fly by night and yeah.
So again, that's another building. It did not, thankfully, did not occur at our building.
Yeah.
But it did. That was, I think, if I remember correctly, it was either front page news or just inside.
I'm gonna have to look this up now. Yeah,
it happened.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember being at my building. And I'm like, man, what? That's a stupid thing to allow at a building.
Of course.
And it sounded like it was during the overnight shift or.
I must have been 2 a.m. or something like that. But
like, why would you allow delivery guys to just kind of? Also, the other thing he could have done is he could have gone to her, dropped off the pizza, and gone anywhere else he wanted.
Right.
And just kind of give himself a tour of the building.
Sure, right.
And just turn the doorknobs.
That's right.
And you could just walk in to any doorknob.
Right.
A lot of these residents leave their doorknobs. Yeah.
Leave their doors
just
unlocked because they feel like they've got
rural areas.
Wow. Okay.
Just like in the South, your neighbor.
Right.
They think they know their neighbor. They're in their building. It's a very confined space.
Sure.
A building with doormen. They leave the doorknobs open all the time.
Never thought of it, but makes sense. Yeah.
And so this delivery guy, it doesn't happen at our building. This delivery guy could have just gone anywhere he wanted.
Right. And did you think that building changed that policy?
I
hope so. Right? Yeah.
You
hope so.
Yeah. You got to keep your residents safe.
I mean, that's number one.
Even just got to keep people safe.
Yeah, that's it.
Your job is so simple.
Yeah.
Or else why do you even have doormen?
Right. Right, exactly. Yeah, what's the point? So in terms of deliveries, are you able to see you could gauge the rise of Amazon or by what packages people are getting delivered? There's an article in the New York Times, it was a while ago, but there was this one upstart online company and they would leave empty boxes. They would bribe the doorman, leave empty boxes in the mailroom so other tenants would see that their neighbors were buying from this company, be like, oh, this must be the cool company to buy from.
That's genius.
Right? Isn't that smart?
Yeah, that is smart. That's great advertising for yourself. We saw the rise of Amazon Fresh Direct. Also, Fresh Direct blew up, man.
Yeah, it did.
I remember their bags when they first started. I was like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
Now everyone's ordering Fresh Direct.
Right.
Right. Amazon is a pain in the ass, man. Their trucks, they will park right outside the door.
Yeah.
And then block the door, making our jobs difficult because then when we have to hail cabs or when they pull up, some of these residents, and I get it, they have all these groceries. Sometimes they have kids, and they want to be able to pull up to the front, the canopy.
Fair enough,
and
right?
Have us have an easier route to their car. But
sure.
But when the Amazon trucks pull up, they have their staff. I don't get it. I think they have their driver and someone in the passenger side, and then they have a whole crew that comes and meets them at the truck.
Oh, yes, in the city. Yeah, in the city, right? It's different.
So then you'll have 10 guys,
right.
10 people, men and women, and they will meet at the back of the truck and then just kind of pull everything out of the truck.
Right, Fresh Direct does the same thing. Yeah,
So you got all these packages, all these, what do they call, hand trucks?
Right.
And then you have a new hand truck that's kind of like a dolly and a hand truck. And you just shift it and however you want. But everyone will be just piled out onto the street. You have a whole crew.
Yep.
And you're trying to get to a resident who just pulled up with groceries and a kid.
Right.
And they have to park way down in front of the last building, the other building.
Right. Yeah.
And so it gets aggravating.
Yeah.
But, I think Amazon and Fresh Direct are the
One and two? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
With regards to the amount of volume and activity we see in the
Right.
neighborhood.
I mean, most people living in other parts of America, there's an Amazon UPS guy covers maybe half a town.
Yes.
Whereas in the city, it could be. I mean, when I worked on West 20th Street, the guy did like 2 blocks, and that was
Yeah.
his route every day. It was just like 2 blocks. You
Yeah.
had all these office buildings, and that's it. But yeah, the Fresh Direct, they basically set up shop in a parking spot, and they're there for hours, and
Yes.
they're like little ants delivering the stuff all over
the
yeah,
neighborhood.
all over, yeah.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of hailing cabs for folks. Particularly rainy days are super busy.
Yes. Yeah. Rainy days are busy. Blizzards, they don't even bother usually, because there aren't many. The cabs are already being used.
Right.
You get very few cabs that are available.
Uber's got their surge pricing. That'll be
Yes.
$400.
We prefer that they call an Uber, because then we don't have to stay out in the rain or the
Right.
snow.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have all the the layers you can possibly get on your body, but it's difficult being out there,
Yeah.
especially in the rain, because the floor is essentially bouncing water off the pavement up onto your shoes and your
Right,
pants.
right.
So you're out there 15, 20 minutes. And I've had residents have me out there for 15 minutes
Oh.
to get a cab in a blizzard
Oh.
or just in the cold, in the bitter cold.
So you're just standing out there with your
Yeah.
arm out. Yeah.
And I'm thinking in my head, you could just call an Uber.
Right. Right.
You can afford it. I know you can afford it. Just call an Uber so I don't have to be out. The driver is nice and warm. I could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
inside nice and warm. You're nice.
Just
Why
call
do
an
I have
Uber.
to be struggling? Right. So, yeah.
So you were at John Jay, and so you're at Nyack. They kicked you out of Nyack. Nyack is a religious college, is it not?
It was a college. They closed down.
Did they really? That's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was not
That's because you left.
unhappy.
Yeah.
When they closed down.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it sounded like who gets kicked out of college? I mean, and from the book, I mean, maybe you didn't tell the whole story, but it seemed like pretty minor stuff.
That was the extent of it, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. I was very honest with regards to Nyack College.
That's surprising.
They were just very rigid, and they wanted things a certain way. And I honestly, if I could go back, you know what? Maybe I wouldn't have broken into the cafeteria. Then that's about it. But everything else was really
Yeah.
was minor.
Yeah.
And I don't think
Yeah.
I deserved to be kicked out. I'm kind of glad I was kicked out, because I would have, if I hadn't, I would have been taking out loans, and I'd still owe a whole bunch of money.
Right.
As it is, I'm almost done paying. I'm still paying off those loans.
Oh, well,
by
tell
the
me
way.
about it.
That's
Tell me
like
about
20
it.
years ago.
Yeah. Well,
John Jay, I don't owe anything. I paid
right,
that
because the
out of
state school.
pocket, yeah.
Yes.
I paid that out of pocket using the doorman money.
Wow.
At Hunter, I got a full ride.
Wow.
So the only money I owe
is for
the
Nyack.
College
Wow.
for
That
a
doesn't
school
even exist
that doesn't
anymore.
even fucking exist.
That sucks.
And that kicked me out. How ridiculous is that?
Oh, it's like blood money. It's
Yeah.
It sucks. Yeah.
But I'm almost done paying it off.
And the funny thing is, you got kicked out of school, and then you got accepted to a college for criminal justice.
Yes.
And you were an English major at a college for criminal justice.
Yes. Yeah. They were the only school that took me in the
Wow.
whole system.
Wow.
Yeah.
Redemption. They wanted.
They like the story, the underdog story.
Yeah. And then you went to Hunter. My wife graduated from Hunter. That's where she got her early childhood degree.
Awesome.
I don't think she got a full ride. But so how was it? So you developed the book. You're doing your master's in fine arts at Hunter. Did you develop the book then, or was that like the germination time?
It was a master in creative writing,
Yeah.
and I didn't know I had a book on my hands. The last chapter of the book, the one on Bam Bam,
Yeah.
is the first chapter I wrote,
Wow.
and I wrote it as part of a school assignment.
Right.
It was just writing, just write. I just need you to write. I was struggling writing about my coming of age story, writing about my family, writing about growing up in the Bronx, struggling.
Yeah.
So I was still too attached to it. I was still healing
Yes.
from all of that stuff.
So
it was difficult for me to get into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I was trying to get an A on
Yeah.
the next writing assignment. I'm like, man, let me shift gears. Let me write on something else. Um, so I started writing about my doorman experience,
Okay.
and that was easy because there's no emotion invested
Right.
into it.
Right. To get.
It's just
yeah.
writing about what happened at work 2 weeks
Right.
ago, or
Yeah.
about my coworkers or residents. Man, that was a hit at school. People were laughing, you know. And I was like, man, let me, while I figure out how I'm gonna get into writing about my coming of age story, writing about, the stuff I really wanted to get into. While I'm gonna table that, let me start writing the doorman material, and it started doing very well at Hunter. It changed my experience at Hunter. And then I didn't know I had a book until Catherine Harrison reached out and talked to me on graduation day. And she's like, look, you have something. You have
Wow.
talent. You have a great story.
And who's Catherine?
Catherine Harrison is a New York Times bestselling author, like one of the greatest memoirists
Wow.
to
Okay.
ever write memoir.
And teaches at Hunter.
She taught at Hunter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's a big name in the memoir world.
Right. Okay.
And she was my mentor for a while.
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm lucky to consider her a friend.
that's great.
She's been huge
Yeah.
for me.
Yep.
So I have her book on my shelf right there.
You got a
And
lot of
I
them.
was so blessed when she reached out the other day and said, I want a copy of yours.
Nice.
I mean, she's one of my heroes.
Yeah.
And now one of my heroes wants a copy of my
Right.
my
Right.
book.
Right.
So, that was incredible. That was incredible.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And how long did it take? You said 3 years it took you to write the book?
No, so I graduated in total 10 years, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I wrote that first piece, that first chapter, the one on Bam Bam. That was just an assignment at school, in 2014, and then it took me like 2 or 3 years because I was working the daytime, and it's very difficult for me to work 40 hours during the day, then come home, and I'm not a morning person, so I need to take a nap. And I'd get 1 hour here, 1 hour there a week. It took me, I want to say, 3 years just to get 35 really, really good pages. I got them before Molly Atlas, who's now at Creative Artists Agency. And she told me, Stefan, if you finish this, you get me a whole book length, a book with a beginning to an end that I can see. There's a narrative arc, a beginning to an end.
Right.
I will represent you. So
Wow.
what I did was, I had just turned 35, so that's 7 years. I was working the daytime shift, and I told the overnight guy, who's the next guy in line at the job, I was like, let's change. He couldn't believe it. He could not believe it. I was like,
Right,
wait,
because nobody ever wants to work the overnight. That's
not a
like going in
lateral move.
reverse.
Yeah, you're demoting yourself.
Right.
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 So I was like, Paul, let me get your overnight shift. I'll give you my shift.
And he's like, sweet.
Yeah. He was like, oh, dude, I just got back with my wife. Now I could be home at night.
Right.
And I was like, well, great, because I could be at work at night writing.
Yeah, smart man. Yep.
And so I did that for 3 years.
Wow.
3 years, and that's where I wrote most of the book.
Wow.
And then it worked out perfectly. After 3 years, he hits me up. Now we're during the pandemic, 2020. And we were essential workers. We were still going to work.
Sure.
The city
yeah.
did not give a good damn about us.
Right.
You're an
right.
essential worker. You're getting trotted out there.
Yep.
And so midway through the pandemic, he tells me, me and my wife split up again.
Oh.
Like once I gave up the shift, I was prepared to keep the overnight shift.
Wow. Dedication.
It's not ideal. The overnight shift is not ideal, but I was prepared. My decision. It was my offer.
Yeah.
So I was prepared to stay on it for however long it took.
Yeah.
But then he hits me up and he's like, Stefan, my wife and I split up again. Do you want to let me take the overnight shift? I'm like, dude, bro, I just finished the book. Yeah, let's do it.
Wow, nice time.
Back onto the daytime shift.
Right.
He takes the overnight shift. And I sent Molly Atlas the manuscript the following year, and she says, "This is it. I want to represent you." But I worked with her another year and a half on polishing the book and editing it with her before we sent it out.
Yeah.
And after a year, late 2022 is when we sent it out to all the publishers.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then once we made a deal with HarperCollins, it was another year of editing.
Oh, it's
and
a process.
editing, man,
grueling. There's no creativity really involved. So it felt like math, but just with words. It was terrible,
Yeah,
man. I mean, it had to be done. It
Right.
had to be
Yeah,
done.
it
It
makes
just
him so much
doesn't
better.
feel great, you know,
Right.
because you're standing in front of a computer and the creative juices aren't flowing. You're just you don't get into the swing of things because you're working on a sentence here, a paragraph there,
Right.
you know. And
Right.
so as soon as you finish one sentence, you have to go and fix a paragraph on another page, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, 10 years. It took 10 years.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well, and what's next?
I want to write fiction,
Okay.
and I am going to write fiction. I'm going to start next year. I have an idea already. It's
Okay.
late 1950s New York City, So it'll take a lot of research, but I have a character, a real life character, whose name I might change but unless I can buy the rights to his story. But yeah, I want to do something completely different. That was actually the first project. I started working on that before the memoir, but Catherine Harrison, she texted me out of the blue, and she's like, I reached out. I spoke to you when you graduated. I haven't received any pages from you. Where are the memoir pages? And so I put that project to the side, and 10 years later, we're here. But I know what I want to write. I'm just going to let it write itself.
Yeah.
Get started. And just
Well, that's it. I mean, if you know
Yeah.
what you're writing, you just got to sit down.
Yeah.
Now, will your doorman friend maybe get back together with his wife? That would be perfect. And then you take the overnight shift, and they break up 3 years later. He'd be like, "Hey, man, how's that ex-wife doing? Are you talking to her recently?"
Get back with her. Oh man, no, he's dating someone now.
Oh,
and,
well,
he's
all
happy. Also, that overnight guy Paul is not an overnight guy anymore.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. The current overnight guy is another one of these old guys who we hired recently and doesn't give a good damn about the job either, and is doing a terrible job. So yeah, I don't really get along with him.
But that's work, I mean, it's everywhere,
Yeah. But I couldn't ask him to switch,
No.
and you know what? I'm not going back on the overnight shift.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. So I'm honestly hoping something changes in my life. Maybe I get a professor gig somewhere where I can have weekends off and I have more time, because I don't want to take 10 years to write another book.
Right. Right.
Now I do know now how to write a book.
Right.
You've
done it once.
Yes, I know the process.
Right.
So I think I could take less time, even if I work during the daytime, have the daytime shift.
Yeah.
I might be able to cut that down to maybe 5 years. But most authors can put a book out there in 2.5, 3 years. And that's what I want to do. And I'm not going back to it's brutal, man. What it does to you, just the way you feel, like the days go by in a
It's
blur.
such a strange existence.
Yes.
Everybody's asleep. It's 3:00 in the morning, and you're up, and
We weren't made for that.
No.
Our bodies were not made for that.
I just not a way to live.
So
but-
I'm not going back to that, but I am going back to writing. So something's got to give, and I'm just waiting to see what happens.
And let me ask you this: as a doorman, in order to get pension, how many years do you have to put in?
Oh man, I think it's 25 years.
Really?
Yeah, I'm approaching that
Wow.
at my young age. Yeah, because I've been in it. I'm about to hit 20 years.
Wow.
That first year doesn't count, so it'll be 2026 when I hit 20 years. 25. Sorry, when I hit 20 years, and then I'll have 5 years before I hit 25.
Wow.
And that's pretty young.
It is very young. Yeah.
So I have a couple of decisions to make.
I mean, it's a nice decision to be able to make, that you're in that place that you can keep your job, you could retire and get another job and get a full career on top of that, be a writer, be a professor, whatever.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I have that coming up. I don't know, I'm letting things come to me right now.
Yeah.
I feel so fortunate, so blessed right now. I have a very good job, and I have this writing thing that I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to see kind of flourish, and so I'm letting things come to me.
Good.
I'm not really stressing.
Good.
Yeah.
And where can people find the book?
Oh man, they could find it anywhere.
Yep.
A lot of people go to Amazon.
Right.
You can walk into your local. If they have a local bookstore, I would prefer they go to their local independent bookstore.
Right.
And support them. Obviously, they're out there doing the Lord's work, being independent.
Yep.
You know.
Yes.
But if you can't get to your local bookstore, you can go to Amazon.
And have the delivery driver bring it right to your door, or walk around the doorman and right to the top of your door.
Yeah, especially if your man just block everybody. You know, double park in front of all the cars trying to get out.
Man.
But yeah, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target. You can go to Target.com. But
Wherever fine books are sold.
Yes, yes, sir.
All right. Well, Stephen Bruno, building material of the memoir of a Park Avenue Doorman. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Good having
All
you
right.
here, man.
That's a wrap.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
We did it.
That was fun. That was fun.